Today we're bringing you one of my favorite vehicles, the Sleeper Mustang. We've done these year after year after year, and this year, this is a 2020 Rapid Red Mustang GT. The only options that this Mustang has is a V8 motor, the performance package, and an active exhaust. It comes with one special twist, a 700 horsepower ROUSH Supercharger. On this Mustang, as it came from the factory, there's one special component that we needed to add in order to make this an ultimate sleeper Mustang, and that's the GT Performance Package. Now, with the GT Performance Package, you get a couple really key things. First of all, starting with the brakes. So it comes with an upgraded Brembo brake. Now, the GT Performance Package are typically identified with these black wheels. So if you see them on the street, you know it's got a GT Performance Package when it's got these black wheels, and typically right behind that are these upgraded brakes. So that is step number one. If you go fast, you need to stop fast. Along with those brakes, along with the brakes and the wheel upgrade, you also get a tire upgrade. These are the Michelin Pilot Sports S. So these are a little bit stickier. Now you can get more aggressive, more race-ready tires, but these are good for exactly what we need to do and a good way to get you started with this vehicle. Along with the GT Performance Package, it gives you some extra stiffening, better suspension, a couple other components underneath the vehicle, above the vehicle, to make it as a performance package. The rear wing on the GT Performance Pack, you got that. But what's really, really important is not just what's back here, but it's what's behind these axles. And that is a 373 limited slip rear end. So you're gonna need that when you're hooking up all that power. So you've got a stronger rear end, you've got a better rear end, you've got a well-geared rear end. Alongside with that, you've got upgraded tires. We got upgraded brakes and stiffened suspension. This is the baseline to make a 700 horsepower sleeper. So now let's go to the most interesting part of this vehicle, and that is the 700 horsepower supercharger, along with 610 foot-pounds of torque. That's more than 240 horsepower and 190 foot-pounds of torque over the base factory Mustang GT, which is already super powerful. This is supercar power at the price of just a regular everyday Mustang, which is really, really cool about this vehicle. Okay, let's pop the hood. And let's show you what's underneath the hood of this awesome Mustang. Okay, so what you're looking at here is ROUSH's 700 horsepower, that's phase one supercharger kit. So for those of you who've never seen what a supercharger looks like, you might not even know it has a supercharger on it because it kind of looks factory. And that's the beautiful part about ROUSH, is ROUSH engineers work directly with Ford through all the CAT designs and create these superchargers specifically for these vehicles and only for these vehicles. Now, that gives you a full warranty. You have a full 3-year, 60,000 kilometer warranty with this 700 horsepower vehicle. The supercharger is this right here. This is the meat of the supercharger. It's a 2.6 liter supercharger. There are 2 screw likes that go inside, and you can kind of see it with the veins here. There's almost 2 screws that keep twisting, and that's what forces air inside of the vehicle. So, or inside of the engine. You've got the exposed air filter here. From there, it draws the air in. This is the supercharger pulley. And basically from there, it compresses the air and jams air into this 5-liter Coyote. Basically, the things we do are change that top end of the motor. We're not changing the valve train. We're basically changing the intake. We're changing the cooling. There's an intercooler that's put in, but just check out how good this looks and how stock it looks and how clean it looks for your modern day 2020 hot rod. Hot rodding at its best is when you pull up to the lights and the guy beside you has no idea what you've got. They might think this is a really cool base Mustang GT with a performance package, but just wait until you unleash that power and you let all those 610 foot-pounds of torque touch the pavement and pull this vehicle along. Super clean install, really well done. We've done a ton of these, like a ton. We haven't had any issues with these, no engine lights, any of that stuff. These are solid installs because it's so well engineered from ROUSH Performance. ROUSH has a background of NASCAR. They build motors for the NASCAR series. These guys are pros, and we're happy to be one of their top dealers. So the next thing I want to show you is the inside of the vehicle. It's got everything you need in a modern day hot rod. So starting with our seats, we have cloth seats. We've got the Mustang insignia inside here. If you want to upgrade these seats into heated or cooled leather seats, we can do that. We have a great guy that does that, Class C Automotive, and they put nice cat skin leather inside. You could do it at any color you want. You could put red pinstripes on the vehicle if you wanted, or on the seats. But the inside is very simple. It gives you all the basic things you need. You've got your steering controls. Most importantly, you've got your gear shifter. This is a 6-speed manual transmission. You can get a supercharger in the 10-speed automatic as well. Not as common as your manual transmissions, but you can get it on the manual transmission. So in here, this is basically the cockpit. This is your home office inside the modern day Mustang. Now, there's one twist. This one is equipped with Ford's active exhaust. The active exhaust system with Ford is awesome. It's sweet. It's got baffles inside of the rear exhaust, and we're gonna check that out because I'm gonna start the vehicle, and you're gonna get to see, and you're also gonna get to hear what it sounds like in the different modes. Now, if you come over here, I'm gonna show you the different modes that it's in, and then we're gonna start the vehicle and show you what that looks like. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go into the menu system of the Ford Mustang. So under here, we're gonna go under settings. So we're gonna click on settings, and we have the exhaust mode. On the exhaust mode, we have several different modes. It automatically goes to normal. You could change that to quiet. That's what it sounds like. Into normal. Now we got sport. And check out, ooh, it gives you a warning sign. Make sure you know what you're dealing with when you're in the track mode. Now we're in the track mode. So let's start up the vehicle and see what it really sounds like. So we're gonna start off in quiet mode. And you can have the vehicle naturally start up in quiet start. So you could actually put it in a mode called quiet start. So every time you start the vehicle, and if, let's say you're leaving really early and you don't want to wake up your spouse or your neighbor, or you just want to kind of sneak out, don't give anybody any hints what you're driving, you could start the vehicle in quiet mode. So let's gonna start this vehicle in quiet mode, and we'll put you to the back and you could hear what it sounds like. Okay, so now let's go to normal mode. That sounds pretty mean, just in normal mode. Huge difference between quiet mode and normal mode. Now let's go to sport mode. The baffles open up just a little bit more. You can hear that it just get deeper, and it's got way more bass in that sport mode. It just makes it like just like a monster. Now for the last fully open track mode. That is a beast, just so loud. This is a factory exhaust with baffles built into it. You don't need to do anything with this. It's perfect. It just has the greatest sound. Your everyday Mustang turned into a full street rod. I mean, these things are cool to start with, let alone the supercharger. And that supercharger brings out the sound of the exhaust. From the stock exhaust, it really brings it out. So, you know, whether you want to just drive around in normal or quiet mode and then sneak up and bam, off you go, sport or track, man, you're gonna be making some noise, which is really what you like to do with these vehicles. All right, it's one thing to talk about all the specs and to take a look at it and hear the sound. It's a whole other experience to drive. So I wanted to show you what it feels like to drive one of these Sleeper 700 horsepower Mustangs. So right now we're in quiet mode. The vehicle's on, it's idling. You almost can't hear anything. It feels like you're just in some regular car, you know, even revving it up inside of it, you know, it's got a bit of a grunt, but nothing crazy, nothing that you would think, wow, I'm inside of a modern day hot rod. So let's go off and we're gonna start the exhaust in quiet mode and then just basically progress to normal. So off the bat, you know, this drives very similarly. Like if you were telling me that this was supercharged right now, I probably wouldn't believe you, because right now it feels like it's just a regular Mustang. And that's very much like the way that these vehicles drive, the way that they're tuned, the way that the ROUSH tuners work is that they're totally drivable. You know, if you were getting into a 700 horsepower muscle car, my goodness, to drive it would be really quite challenging, quite tough, because this thing, the characteristics and how it's cammed out, I mean, it'd be really hard, where this, it drives like an everyday car. Like, you know, you could give this to, you know, somebody who didn't know about your vehicle, and they probably wouldn't realize what it has until they hit the gas. And that's where this thing really comes alive, like really comes alive. So the supercharger is always on because it's tied to the accessory belts, or the serpentine belt. It's basically always spinning the supercharger. So there's always air going inside of it. It's always packing. Nothing like a turbo, and turbos now really don't have turbo lag, but this is always on. The power is always there. But the power really comes alive in this vehicle around 3,000 RPMs. That's very similar to the stock Mustang, like under 3,000 RPMs. You know, it's got power and it pulls, but you could really feel this thing expand its lungs and take in that air above 3,000 RPMs. And that's where this thing really shines. So that's all in quiet mode. We're in third gear right now, and it pulls until there's another car in front of us and hitting the brakes. And this thing is super impressive. Now, don't get my reactions wrong, because I do get to drive these vehicles quite often, but this thing is fast. This thing is fast, and it feels good. It feels tight. Everything about it says I'm in a really fast car. But the way you know you're in a fast car is by changing the exhaust. We're gonna change it to normal mode now, and you're gonna really hear that exhaust note very differently. So this is first gear. We're in 3,000 RPM. We're gonna punch it. That's 120 kilometers an hour. That's 120 kilometers an hour pretty darn quickly. And unfortunately, the cameraman wasn't able to hold this camera up, but that is impressive. That's a 1-2 gear shift, and that's when this thing really livens up. And that's in normal mode. You could hear that exhaust tone. You know, you could really hear the engine basically spooling up. We had a little bit of traction control there. We have all the stock functions on right now. We're not in track mode, any of that stuff. This is just normal Mustang mode, and it's doing what it needs to do. So that was normal mode. So let's go down to sport mode. hear this thing come alive. Now, these new Mustangs have something that's really neat. You can sound like a pro driver and by the rev match. So it has a function that when you're downshifting and when you put the clutch in and you downshift, the engine actually matches the revs of where you should be. Let's go. Get in front of this guy here. Okay, anyways, let's talk about upshifting. Whoa! That feels good. Crazy. This car, super cool. That was sport mode. Now we're basically on the highway right now. We're doing, 90 kilometers an hour. We're in third gear. It's right in that power mode or that power zone, about 3,500 RPMs. We're gonna change it to track mode, and you can kind of hear what it sounds like. At the same idle, doesn't change a whole lot. It's really when it opens up. So we're gonna go from basically a rolling, we'll go from a rolling 80 kilometers an hour. We're in third gear. It's kind of right in its power band right now at about 3,200 RPMs. And we're gonna hit the fuel, hit the gas and see what this thing does. There it is. Hey, this thing sounds good. Whoa! In no time, takes you to 160 kilometers an hour. So modern day hot rod, as you know it right here. This is pretty darn cool. Man, this is awesome. Now, we're on the highway, and if you had it in track mode in your highway, you might find a little bit of drone. Nothing as much as some other vehicles I've driven with aftermarket exhaust. Like, it's actually pretty docile. But if you wanted to go down into normal mode, the vehicle definitely quietens up. But if you're on a long trip and you just wanted to go in quiet mode, man, go on the highway. I'm in fifth gear right now, 2,200 RPMs, doing 110 kilometers an hour, nice and calm. Go into sixth gear. I'm at about 1,900 RPMs, 110 kilometers an hour, and I'm just cruising. Nice and easy. Almost can't even hear anything. I think the loudest thing is likely just the tires and the wind noise. That's all you could really hear. And it just drives. It just tracks so well. It feels so good on the road. And this is stock. This is basically as base as you can equip a Mustang with a performance pack and a V8 with active exhaust. All you really need in your 700 horsepower sleeper. At first I wasn't sure, if you're driving a sports car and do you really need, rev match? You don't need it, but I'm telling you, it's cool because it makes you feel like a pro. Like, it really does. Like, you don't have to be good at driving a manual and boom, this thing makes it feel like awesome. So I'm in fourth gear and put it down to third and you hear it revving up. Second gear, same thing. First gear, and it just automatically pops the RPMs up to match going down. So you're not jerking on the way down, and you've got these beautiful tones that it's like, right, going up. So here's me going up gears. So I'll go up a few, and then I'll show you this rev match again. So down, I'm in third. I'm gonna go down in a second. Goes up. Isn't that cool? Right? Automatically does it. So there you have it, your modern day sleeper hot rod. Based on a 5-liter Coyote motor with a 2.6-liter supercharge, you get 700 horsepower of pavement tearing tires, basically. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel. If you've got any questions about this car specifically or any other vehicles that we deal with, please let us know and we'll answer it the best we can. Have yourself an awesome hot rod day.